Hi, I'm Rebecca Woods. Yeah, so I specifically wanted to go to northwestern Colorado instead of anywhere else because it's where I grew up. And it's kind of the only place in the world I've ever had a kind of tie to the landscape, which is really funny because my family was always, outsiders in the community. They came from other places and they moved up here. But I kind of wanted to reflect on the idea of what it meant to be part of the landscape and what it meant to be part of a community, but also there's this really complicated interplay between the landscape itself being fairly timeless and human beings in the landscape being a relatively new introduction. But at the same time, the human beings are part of the landscape, and I don't really have a solution to that either. I just know that it hasn't always been evenly mixed. It's weird. It's weird to even try and articulate everything that is wrong in the way that people approach it. But it was like small town America. You go to church. It's what you do. So, yeah. And in the meantime, you stand on the train tracks because nobody else in the community wants to associate with you, and you daydream about going anywhere else in the world. So, yeah. And it's like, if you belong to the community, you don't see anything wrong with the way that the community is run. But it's like if you're an outsider in that community, all you can see is everything that was wrong with it. What's good about it? Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The mountains are beautiful. The animals are beautiful. You just saw a snake. You saw all kinds of animals. Yeah. The creek is beautiful. The landscape is beautiful. There are people here who genuinely care and who always have cared. And it's like no place is perfect. But one of the first steps to improving a community is acknowledging its imperfection. Instead of pretending that this is somehow some perfect, idyllic example of how the rest of the world needs to run itself. The mountains have always been beautiful, though. It's like sometimes you choose to live in a difficult place because you love the landscape that it sits in. But I'm interested in the spirits of places and the things that give places certain identities, and that the animistic practice of associating an anthropomorphic identity with a place or an object is that's something that gets practiced as a cultural belief. And I like the way that it enhances the landscape and the respect for the landscape. Instead of thinking that it's something that you have dominion over, it's thinking that you're sharing space with neighbors.
By anthropomorphizing that.
By anthropomorphizing it, yeah. So today, we went up to Steamboat Lake Park at the foot of Hans Peak, and we set up a tent and we worked on some sculptures.
Tell me about the sculptures.
So the sculptures were small, vague anthropomorphic entities that integrated objects and artifacts and little relics and bits and pieces of stuff we grabbed off the ground, especially around places like the train tracks or the historic hospital, to sort of try and pin down a sense of identity for those places. I would say that the objects themselves relate to Hayden specifically in the sense that they relate to my experiences of the place. But I also really wanted to make sure that not all of the pieces were solely informed by my ideas. So the pieces were also made by Ilana and Lily and Meredy, all contributing their own thoughts and their own ideas.
Why
and
was
their
that
own objects.
important?
That's important to me because it allows me to be objective. And I know that that's a strange thing to say, but seeing how other people react to the things that I have seen allows me to gauge the validity of my own experiences.
Well, tell us.
Part of me was happy to have some validation that there are things worth liking about it, because the experiences I had when I was much younger were fairly negative in nature. But the other part of me also looked at it and was like, but if you spent enough time here, would you still feel that way?